we have an analysis of the polls that we've been getting from Tuesday, the 30th of October 2018. So we have two Florida Senate race polls, a North Dakota Senate race poll, a poll from Montana, Ohio, Arizona, and Texas and Connecticut. Sorry about that. These are all Senate race polls. In addition, we have some governor race polls from Florida, Georgia, Ohio, Arizona, Texas, Connecticut, Oregon, and Kansas. They hold some very interesting data. Then we'll go on and look at the House races in California: 50, Kansas 2, Kansas 3, Montana at large, North Carolina 2, Pennsylvania 1, Pennsylvania 10, New York 19, Utah 4, which is hold very, very interesting data. Mia Love is in danger of losing her seat to Democrat Ben McAdams. And then we'll finally finish things off with a Rasmussen reports President Trump job approval. So let's start in the state of Florida, the Senate race there. So we have two polls, one that shows Nelson up 2 and the other shows Nelson up 1. Nelson's lead has gone down with these two polls. Originally he was leading by 4, by 8 even, but now it's kind of gone down a bit. The +1 for Nelson poll shows 47 to 46, so still quite a bit of undecided voters. But then the Nelson +2, in my mind, has too many undecided voters to be taken into account seriously. So, as you can see, Nelson's lead has gone down a bit. Nelson has gone down and Scott's pretty much stayed the same since then. So in the beginning, again, Nelson led, then Scott led, then it was really close. Now Nelson started to lead again. So, very interesting race. On my 2018 Senate map, I have this as a leaning Democratic state. I'm going to keep it there unless we get some more polls that show otherwise. Next, we have the North Dakota Senate race. We've been getting very limited information previously, but now the information is starting to speed up a bit. Kevin Cramer's lead has gone down from 16 and 12, now it's just 9. And considering this is from a Republican group, the Treflanger group, is definitely something to note. This has a smaller margin of error and has a larger sample size. But at the end of the day, this shows quite conflicting data. Kevin Cramer's lead probably isn't at 16 points, considering that a Republican poll shows him only leading by 9 points. But still, at the end of the day, you can expect this to be in the likely GOP column. Next, we have the Montana Senate race between Matt Rosendale and John Tester. The latest Gravis poll, I believe it was a Gravis poll. Yeah, it was a Gravis poll. Only shows Tester leading by 3. This is pretty surprising. I thought that Tester would be leading by something more like 9, or at least a bit more than 4 or 5. Leading by 3 isn't the worst thing in a Republican state. That Trump did win by a significant margin in 2016. I'm keeping this in the leaning Democratic column, as I think the fundamentals really play to Tester's advantage in this one. Now we have some very interesting information out of the state of Ohio. I don't know what changed, but there was a there was a Quinnipiac poll, Brown +17. Then NBC News, Brown +13. Suffolk, Brown +18. Suddenly, Emerson now shows Brown only leading by 6 points. That is not good for Sherrod Brown. Sorry about that. I think someone must have been, but Brown is only leading by 6. I do not know what happened. President Trump's visit to Ohio could have made a difference, but I'm moving it from the safe Democratic column into the likely Democratic column because of that poll alone. Now, let's go into the Arizona Senate race between Martha McSally and Kristen Sinema. Kristen Sinema now leads by 6% in the latest poll. This solidified what I was thinking before with this +3. Sinema now leading by 6 heading into the stretch. I kind of feel tempted to move it into the leaning Democratic column, but I want to keep it in the tilt Democratic column just for now. Next, we have the Texas Senate race, one where people think that O'Rourke can pull off an upset, including me. However, Cruz's lead is now at 10 points. That's pretty good for Ted Cruz. And because of that plus 10 lead, I'm contemplating whether I should move Texas into the leaning GOP column. But I think that O'Rourke can really drive out voter turnout. And for that reason, I think I'm going to just narrowly keep it in the tilt Republican column. Next, we have the Connecticut Senate race between Chris Murphy and, who's this, Matthew Corey. This is safe Democratic. Everyone knows it's going to go to the Democrats. His polling leads have been going down, but that's probably because of the drag from the incumbent governor, who has like a 12% approval rating. I'm keeping this in the safe Democratic column. Next, now we've finished all the Senate races. Overall, pretty good news for Democrats. They're leading in 5 out of the 7. They're leading in 6 out of the 8 Senate races that were polled today. That Ohio race is definitely showing some conflicting data. Next, we'll go into the Florida governor race, which is pretty hotly contested. Gillum versus DeSantis. In the poll that showed Bill Nelson leading by 1, Andrew Gillum also leads by 1, 45 to 44. I think that many of those undecided voters will come back to Andrew Gillum at the end of this. But then in the other poll that showed, I believe, just one sec, yeah, it's Gillum plus 6. So UNF shows this as Gillum plus 6. I would say that's probably a little bit less than what it's going to be. I think Gillum will probably win by about 4. That's why it's in the leaning Democratic column. So that's it in Florida. Overall, good news for the Democrats there, but could be better. In Georgia, hotly contested race. Stacey Abrams, this is the first time she has led since this Gravis poll showed her leading by 2. Now she's leading by 1. But considering that we had 4 consecutive polls that show Brian Kemp leading, I think why Stacey Abrams is now leading is because of Brian Kemp's obvious voter suppression. He is suppressing the vote, and he is definitely trying to. All the evidence points to that. I know I'm going to get a lot in the comments disagreeing with me, but I do believe that Brian Kemp, he is suppressing the vote, and that's not good for him because it's energizing Democratic voters. Next, we have the Ohio governor race, and I think this poll is fantastic for Richard Cordray. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. And even though he's not leading as much as he was, because he was leading by 6, why I think it's fantastic is if we go back to the Ohio Senate race poll, it's going to load, Brown is leading by 6 in this one. But if we go ahead and look at the governor poll, Richard Cordray is only 3 points behind where Sherrod Brown is. Now, considering that Brown was leading by 18, 13, 17, this poll could be an outlier and it could be oversampling Republicans because of that poll. Now, if they're oversampling Republicans and the Democrats still leading by 3 in a toss-up race, that is fantastic news. Look, it is over 12 points off where the last poll had it at. Now, I still think this. I think this is fantastic news for Richard Cordray and the Democrats trying to take over this governorship. And for that reason, for that poll, I'm moving it from tilt Democratic to lean Democratic for that reason. So next up we have the Arizona governor race between Doug Ducey and David Garcia. Ducey looking like someone who's pretty much gonna do it. I didn't think that these 17 and 18 point leads were necessarily accurate, but then Ducey now leading by 11 and 13. I'm keeping this one in the likely GOP column. Next, we have the Texas governor race between Greg Abbott and Lupe Valdez. This is safe Republican. I do not need to go over this. Abbott leading by 26, no surprise there. The Connecticut governor race between Bob Stefanowski and Ned Lamont. I believe that this is a likely Democratic race. I think that Chris Murphy will drag Ned Lamont over the finish line, and Ned Lamont leading by 4 maybe shows that it's a bit more contested than likely, but I still think that it's in the likely Democratic column. Next, we have Oregon governor race, Kansas governor race, and California governor race. So we'll do all these pretty quickly, and as they aren't as contested, except for the Kansas governor race. In Oregon, Kate Brown versus Beulah. Brown leading by 5. That's pretty good news for an unpopular incumbent. I want to keep it in the leaning Democratic column. We'll actually go over to the California governor race between John Cox and Gavin Newsom. Gravis now shows Newsom leading by 20. I wanted a mainstream kind of like a Gravis or a Quinnipiac or a Fox News or a CNN, not really like a all these ones which I have no idea where they're coming from, what they're polling, but it's nice to get, and even Emerson's pretty good. Monmouth as well. So overall, pretty good news for the Democrats there. I'm contemplating maybe I should move it into the safe column, but for now I'm keeping it in the likely column. Finally, we have the Kansas governor race. Chris Kobach leading by 1. This is a toss-up race. This could go either way. It could really go any way. It's well within the margin of error, but because of the state's demographics and his previous history, I'm keeping it in the tilt Republican column very, very narrowly. Now, let's go over the House districts, and they show overall pretty good news for the Republicans. We'll start off with California 50, Duncan Hunter versus Amar Kampa-Najjar. Hunter now leading by 3, not as good as his 15-point lead. If we go into our 2018 House map, into the state of California, and we go down to the 50th district. I have this as a tilt Republican district. I want to keep it there because I feel the excitement is on Kampa-Najjar's side, not on the incumbent's side, Duncan Hunter. So I'm keeping it in the leaning tilt GOP column. Now let's go over some Kansas districts, the 2nd and the 3rd district. Steve Watkins, who's the Republican, he's now leading Paul Davids. I'm actually surprised because Davids was leading previously. If we go over into the 2018 House map, into the state of Kansas, the 2nd district, I have this as a leaning Democratic district. I'm moving it into the tilt column because of that poll that was done there. In the 3rd district, Sharice Davids has consistently led over the Republican incumbent. I'm keeping this in the leaning Democratic column. In Montana, we'll go to Montana, North Carolina next. So, in Montana, the at-large district is now a tie. That's pretty interesting. Trump won this district by 20 points. Gravis now showing a tie between Greg Gianforte and Kathleen Williams. I'm going to keep it in the leaning GOP column because previous polls did show the incumbent Republican leading there. Next, we have the North Carolina 2nd district. The Democrat was leading here first, but now the Republican has taken into the lead in this one, 49 to 40. If we go into our House map, and we'll address North Carolina from here, I believe this is the 2nd district of North Carolina. Here we go. So I already have it in the leaning GOP column. Actually, no, I have it in the tilt Democratic column. I'm moving it into the Republican column because that's a no-brainer. I just do not know why I have it there. Trying to find it. 2nd district. Here we go. So Scott Taylor. Sorry, North Carolina. the 2nd district there. So I put it into the Republican column now. That took a bit of time. Now let's go over the Pennsylvania races. So they polled the 1st district and the 10th district. Both show good news for the Republicans. We've been getting a lot of conflicting information on the 1st district. Steve Wallace did lead by 7, but now the Republican is starting to pull ahead. I'm going to, if I can go into Pennsylvania, I think I'm going to narrowly put it into the tilt Republican column because of the 2 latest polls, it seems like the Republicans could actually take that one. And then we'll finish off with the 10th district. This is going to go to the Republicans at the end of the day. Now, 3 more polls to go. New York 19 and Utah 4. And then we'll finish off with President Trump job approval. Now, New York 19. The Democrat is now leading by 5. That's the largest he's ever led by. If we go into New York, here, and if we go into the 19th congressional district, I have this in the Democratic column. I'm going to keep it in the Democratic column. Now we have some major news. The Democrat is now leading in Mia Love's seat, and that's great news for Democrats. If we go over into my, here we go. I have it as a tilt Republican district. I'm going to keep it there until we get some more polls confirming that information. And we'll finish off with President Trump's job approval by Rasmussen, of course, overestimating the president most times. He's underwater by 3 according to Rasmussen. So if I can get it to load, you'll be able to see. There we go. So underwater by 3, 48% approval rating, 51% disapproval rating. That's pretty much consistent with what we've been seeing now. Tomorrow, you can already have a little bit of a sneak peek. We have 2 Tennessee polls. They show very interesting data, conflicting from what we've been seeing before. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.